I struggled with what theme, what I wanted to share. And I think one of the most important sort of nuggets of wisdom that I could share is just about something I call the dip. And I'm sure everyone's wondering, what is the dip? I believe one of the most powerful ways that we can connect, heal, and learn lessons is by sharing stories. So I'll share one of mine with you. Each of us makes a contribution in a way of lessons. For me, for years, I've been struggling with something that I call the dip, and it's something that we're all very familiar with. The dip is that feeling, it's just a deep feeling of doubt, of fear, of anxiety, of anguish, and it's exhausting. And for women, we've spent so many years sort of trying to silence all that fear and all that anxiety and sort of keep it bottled up. And there are many dips throughout life. Now, I had my greatest dip, which was overwhelming, and it just literally took over my life and took over my joy. Very stressful, very painful. And this all happened within a year. It was a divorce, loss of a job, and depression, all in the same year. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who's gone through this. The dips, they sort of, some are very low, and then some are sort of, in that medium section. For me, that was my greatest dip to date, and I pray that the next one, because there are going to be dips, I'll be able to manage it better. But I went through a time, it was around 2013 when my marriage imploded, and I went through a divorce. The divorce was very painful. I had been with my ex-husband for close to 10 years. We had a 4-year-old at that time. She's 18 now. I went into I call it a cave. It was dark, and it was really painful. And I didn't feel that, although I had support, a family, of friends, I didn't feel that there was anyone who could help me get through this. I had to do it on my own. Luckily, with the help of therapy, I started sort of trying to ask myself, it was an inquisition. I asked myself so many questions. I didn't know who I was at the time of the divorce and depression, and lost my job. I sort of was taking on this identity of wife and mother, but I sort of felt lost. And I think a lot of us feel that way throughout our lifetime because we give so much of ourselves. This was a time when I was trying to figure out what would make me feel better. I did take part in therapy for quite some time. I also tried working out. I tried listening to music. I just tried different things to bring a positive light into my life. For me, I was lucky to find someone who I connected with. Therapy was life-saving to me. It really did make a difference. And I'm grateful for the therapy. From the therapy, I started journaling. And this journal turned into a book, which today is A Journey to Becoming the Best Self. I didn't set out to be an author. I didn't set out to create Awakened Woman, but all this was born from my pain. So I think dips are, they're always going to come for us. They're part of life. And I think the key is trying to figure out how to move past those dips. Although the pain is crippling and the despair weighs down on you, if you can embrace the pain, I know that sounds crazy, but if you can embrace the pain and push yourself out of it, find positive outlets, surround yourself with positive people, create a positive environment, those dips can actually create new strengths, new resilience, new wisdom, which I feel that I have quite a bit of. I have a lot to learn. We're always learning, but I feel that these dips, as painful as they are, A, they're never going to stop. And B, I think we need them in a way because that is how we grow. And they significantly impact our lives in so many ways. And I think when we are in that moment of painful just emotion, we don't realize that good things can come out of it. And it takes time. It takes a lot of self-love, because it can really you can drown in it if you're not if you don't fight your way through it. So, for me, the fear of the dip has subsided. I still have them, not as I haven't had one as impactful as that, but the small dips continue to make significant changes in me and my life. I go through them now and then, and I take a different approach now. Before it was crippling, and now I sort of take a step back and think about, how can I fight my way through this? How can I learn from this? Because the dips are teaching moments. I truly believe that. And I try to find the growth, which is how I get through them. I've learned to manage the lows. And if I find that there's a low that seems unmanageable, I do look for that help. And the help can take many forms. It's definitely my writing. I put a lot of emotion, a lot of heart, a lot of personal, I invest a lot of personal, just of myself in my writing. So that's a huge tool that I know as writers we use. So in short, I want to say that if you are going through a dip, I'd say instead of being afraid, instead of running from it, which is something we often do, we also use avoidance or numbing, and I'm not unfamiliar to that. And I think that's a behavior that we have to watch out for. We sort of try to run from the pain and not confront it, which I think is damaging. So I now I look for those signs, and I look for ways that I can work against it, make it work for me. I think that makes a huge difference, because the job of these dips is to encourage growth, to encourage resilience, and to encourage wisdom. The purpose is really to teach, and that is where Awakened Woman comes from. I came out on the other side of that, literally awakened, enlightened. And every time I go through it, there's a different enlightenment, which I'm actually grateful for. So going back to my biggest dip, I think for me, the greatest lesson that came out on the other side, which I call it part 2, awakening, is I learned how to own my truth, accept my pain, and push through it to become this awakened woman. And that name is it's become so personal. This dip forced me to find my resilience. It literally wrote the book, A Journey to Becoming the Best Self. And it started this beautiful platform, which I believe so many women are benefiting from. And I'm really proud of it. It gave me the wisdom to acknowledge and embrace pain and understand that it's trying to teach me something. So instead of being afraid of it, I embrace it, and I look for the lessons, and I look for the positives. As crazy as it sounds. And in the moment, I'm not going to tell you that it's not scary. It's very scary, and it's very stressful. but the dips of life truly do give you more than they take. You just have to be open to it. And it takes time and it takes patience. And I get really emotional because, sorry, because the lessons are so priceless. So I would say that the next time you experience a dip, don't fight it. Embrace the moment and find your way to your own awakening, because it's so worth it. And it's on the other side of it is very beautiful. So thank you for allowing me to share my story, and I hope it inspires your journey.